I am in the extremely fortunate position where I get to test the coolest kayaks on this planet. Old Town is up to something crazy. Last year they came out with ePDLs, which is kind of like e-bike technology morphed into a kayak. Well, this year they decided to come out with a bunch more of those ePDL models.
So one thing is very apparent, this thing gets a lot of attention when you're cruising through downtown. A lot of people on bridges taking pictures and videos and kind of glancing over this direction. People aren't used to seeing kayaks, people just sitting in them, cruising around.
Last week, a Malibu ePDL Plus 120 arrived on my doorstep, and that's exactly what we're taking for a first test drive today. Now, this craft commands quite the price. Is it worth it, and who is this for? I guess we're going to figure that out here shortly.
Yeah, you definitely garner a lot of attention on this thing. Any kayak is going to get a few glances, but I think it throws up just enough sounds to where you can tell that something more than pedaling is going on. Normally I'd be using this thing.
The new ePDL console installs just like the manual pedal console, except you'll notice there's a cord that comes out and connects to the kayak, which is already rigged with a battery.
First time on a pedal kayak. This is with no power. Oh, this is sweet. Uh-oh, I'm spoiled.
This thing is ready to go right out of the package. It comes with a battery, the charger, it's already fully rigged, and that appeals to someone like myself who's never really been into aftermarket fixes on my kayaks. I usually just take them out of the box and start paddling them as is. But going back to the price, you are buying into a premium experience, and I think that really is delivered, and it should be.
This thing cruises. So right now we're all completely without power. Oh, whenever you turn it, you kind of get a little lean action. That's hilarious. Okay, let's juice this thing up. Okay, one. Easier for sure, but like not a huge difference. Oh, this is sweet.
There's 5 different levels of pedal assist and cruise control, and we're going to test each one of those out. There's a few where there's some pretty big jumps in between levels.
Okay, not a huge difference between 1 and 2. Except I can tell we're going faster now. 3.
I was intentionally sticking between levels 1 and 3 before we went out to the main stem of the Buffalo Bayou. I was kind of in some slack water, and this is a good place to warm up.
We're cruising.
First time on a pedal kayak, I did not want to spill into the bayou. It would have been devastating.
All right, let's see if we can't park this thing. Okay, reverse takes a second. I had mild panic, but we're good. So I guess if you're using assist, and then you go into reverse, there's basically nothing there for a second. So right now, headed out to the main stem of the Buffalo Bayou. I probably shouldn't be filming and kayaking. Not advised, but this is just so much fun. So I would say at 3, against the wind, you can get tired if you want to, if you're trying to keep good speed. So I'm definitely going faster than if I would be paddling, which is cool. All right, let's crank it up to 5. I just gotta see what that's like. Oh, oh yeah, barely pedaling. Yes, you could get into some trouble with this. Okay, down to 1, down to 1. I'm not messing around, this thing cruises. Okay, but in this day and age, like, we're in the electric age. It's so cool to see that we now have e-bike technology in kayaks. That to me is insane. Okay, here we go. Because this is a first look, that hatch is very handy. And I even love dry bags, but having a little hatch right there is perfect. I didn't even plan on using it. Okay, here we go. 5. Yeah. This is the bee's knees. All right, here we go. We're gonna put it on cruise control. Oh my gosh, we're cruising. This is the first time I've ever been on a kayak and it just goes without me doing anything, paddling or pedaling, with no current. That is wild. Literally just for a cruise. So one of the reasons I wanted to come to downtown Houston and test this kayak out is because for the longest time I would fish up and down these banks or kayak, and these pontoon boats would come tearing by. And the Buffalo Bayou Partnership gives these tours that go all up and down the bayou. They do the ship channel, they do bayou, and they go pretty far upstream. I mean, this is way cooler than I was expecting. I was expecting something pretty sweet. Being able to just relax and navigate up without having to strain super hard against current. But yeah, so those pontoon boats just rip around, and I always thought it'd be so cool to kayak that same route. Whenever Old Town said they were dropping the new ePDL, it's like, oh my gosh, time to make that come to fruition. So here we are, we're doing the exact same route. We're gonna push up through Eleanor Tinsley Park. This is also an excellent test for the agility and how this thing handles, because as we get further upstream, we're gonna be going under highways and channels will be narrowing. And so we're gonna put both my steering skills and the maneuverability skills of this thing to the test. So if you want to kill it, just spin backwards real quick, and then you're done. So something I wanted to test was if you can put it into cruise control, like on one, and then go up. Oh, you can. So you can go from 1 cruise control all the way up to 5. Without touching the pedals, which is pretty sweet. Dang, we are cruising through here too.
The ePDL Plus system came out in the big water about a year ago. There's a bunch of YouTube videos, and I always scroll down to the comment section just to see what are some of the questions that keep popping up. I would say by far and away, the number one is, can the ePDL Plus fit into a regular PDL? So for instance, if you bought a 120 or 106 or salty PDL back in the day, can you do a hot swap and toss this in? And the answer to that one is no. And I know a lot of people are mystified by that, but I think it makes a little bit more sense once you get the platform in front of you. There's a ton of internal cable routing through the hull to make all of this work together and kind of be a seamless fit. So you toss in the PDL Plus, ePDL Plus console, plug it in to your kayak, and then those wires run back to the battery bay. And you can plug in the battery in the battery hatch, and then you're really set to go. You just couldn't really do that if you had an existing PDL drive, because there's no internal routing. So I think that, and I'm sure there's a myriad of other reasons like safety, there's no kill switch, there would just be so much aftermarket rigging, you'd probably end up spending a ton of money on it. I don't think that's the direction they completely wanted to commit to, but it's a totally understandable question. And I wrote down several other questions that we're going to kind of answer throughout the video. I'll just pop in, and you guys are probably going to want to hear my take on the pricing, because it is pretty stout.
I know this is a pedal kayak, but I think my favorite feature so far is the cruise mode. In this 5 mode, I don't think I would honestly use the pedals very much in 5. Cruising through the underbelly of Houston. This is so much fun.
At this point, I had a pretty good idea of who the kayak was going to be for. You know, this isn't Old Town's flagship ePDL Plus fishing kayak. That's going to be more like the 120 Pro ePDL Plus. And that thing just came out, it looks sweet. But this was always meant to be kind of the fun, more adventurous kayak, even when it was the salty PDL. It was a fast, sleek design with a light hull, and something that you could more easily throw and go, get up, scoot, cover ground, and also do some fishing. Yet at the end of the day, this thing is completely rigged out for fishing rods, has good stability, and you can go tear it up out there in the bay or on the lake. I think for me, one thing I'm really excited to do is load up some camping gear, go into a lake, shoot up a river that feeds into that lake, and then open up some new water. So for me, it's going to be a fishing kayak, but also a camping kayak. Who knows? Honestly, maybe 50-50 in that department. As you can tell, I didn't even bring a fishing pole today, and we were having a blast.
So another thing to touch on is the steering. Does the steering work well? Yes, it does. It's not the smoothest steering, but we're all used to our power steering in our cars. It's definitely not that. But for the most part, you're only giving it minor tweaks here and there. And so it works great. Alright, 5 Cruise is like definitely my favorite. This is awesome. It's really cool to see everybody out for spring. You know, Houston doesn't have the prettiest waterways, but we sure do crush it in the parks department. Basically, all these bayous have parks on either side of them that just go on for miles and miles. Well, Houston's known for its highways, and you can probably see why. Okay, I'm gonna cut the engine. cut the engine too, because I was coming up on an area that looked like there were some sticks and debris and logs. I didn't want to go full Monty into it. Let's see what 3 cruise control is like. Alright, so if I was going to do a little bit of fishing, I should have brought my pole. Or if I want to keep going and cover ground, next spot. So in this section, now that we're above the bridges, it's kind of funny how it works, but we're going to have to start watching depth. It is one of the concerns that I do have, or not the concern, but like something that's on my mind as I kayak this. I'm not used to having something stick down 1.5 feet below the kayak, and so typically with a kayak you're going into skinny water. But with this, you're definitely going to want to be cognizant. So usually I'm up on those paths and I'm riding a bike. I have an e-bike, and it's one of my favorite things to do just on a nice day or a nice evening is go out, and I am guilty. I do like the throttle only. What's cool is you can turn the whole system on while you're pedaling and just getting started. So then you come here, go up to 1, hit cruise, you're in cruise. Now you just step it up. This is so easy. And now we're doing an evening cruise on the questionably beautiful Buffalo Bayou. Okay, here we go. Acceleration test on level 0. That's pushing it pretty good. That's what we call rocks. Perfect example. We're going to unlock, pull up, and paddle out. Oh, we're also going to pull that thing up. Oh man, okay, so that was a very minor bump. Thank goodness I was not charging along at 5 speed. That's the cool thing though, is like you can turn this thing into a kayak and just paddle it normally, albeit a very heavy kayak. In a pinch, it works just fine.
Although my plan was kind of to go as far upstream as possible before running aground, I didn't actually mean it literally. But I guess now that I ran aground, it was time to turn around and start heading back to downtown.
So we're gonna do a acceleration test from 0 just on pedal power. All right, 3, 2, 1. This is good work. And we're cruising. I'd say we're going as fast as the 5. All right, now let's put it on 5. All right. So the acceleration feels the same. All right, from 5 to dead stop, how quick? Like, oh, Nelly. Not bad. I just went a couple miles upstream and I'm still at full battery. That's crazy. So 3 cruise control is if you just want like a more quiet and scenic, probably downstream tour. Like, oh, what's that? A little easier to steer. You can slightly hear the motor. 4. Four's casual too. Not bad. A little bit more sporty. Still easy to handle, but here's the difference. 5 is aggressive. Look, 5 is cruising. 5 is why you buy this kayak. Ooh. Motor control, restart system, okay. I wonder if it detected an impact, which I didn't see anything, but it's possible we hit like a branch or something, because it wasn't much of a jolt. I don't know if that was the motor kicking off or if that was an impact of something.
All right, let's hammer through a few more quick questions. Is there spot lock? Nope, the only spot lock kayak is the AutoPilot 120. On this ePDL Plus, it only goes in a straight line and then you steer the kayak with the rudder. All right, battery range. They claim 3 hours, but as you'll see in this test, I got way more than that. I have no hesitations taking this out for a weekend camping trip and not running out of battery. That's crazy. Do you need to register with the state? You do. Typically anything with power or a motor needs to be registered. So a normal PDL, no. But because this is battery powered, yes, you have to register it. Wouldn't it be more cost effective to DIY a trolling motor? Now, I'm by no means an expert in the trolling motors, but it does look like you're looking at multi-$1,000 options, and it's going to be pretty busy up on the deck. So for me, simplicity definitely is worth something. Once again, I'm just not a huge DIYer, so yeah, you could probably work something up for less. However, it's not going to be as clean a system or as easy to do. And I find that I actually use my equipment more when it's easier to use that equipment and set up. That's why I've always kind of shied away from bringing too much stuff on camping trips. I just find that it's overwhelming to pack, and so I keep it simple. Can't go wrong there. However, there's going to be a ton of videos on YouTube that address that exact question, so it really just comes down to personality. Do you like to DIY and get down and dirty and rig your kayak up? Or are you more of a take it out of the box and just immediately start having fun with it and not worry about bolts and screws and routing cables and things like that? I'm definitely the latter.
The speed of this thing is still pretty crazy to me. I mean, we're cooking. This has to be 5 miles an hour, I think is what other you said on the big water, and since this is the salty, it might be even a little bit faster. Crazy.
So now we are just cruising down the Buffalo Bayou, completely in cruise control, with the click of a button.
Last and certainly not the least consideration, the price is big, $5,500. And I think honestly I had less sticker shock this year whenever I found out the price because the ePDL was released last year. And it was definitely in that premium category. Now one of the main reasons I didn't fall back into my seat is I come from the bike industry, and I've noticed that every single time you have a nice bike like Specialized bikes, when they come out with the electrified version, they are several $1,000s more than the manual versions. And so I think that's just kind of always been a known thing. And because Old Town has so many different kayaks at different price points, I really don't find it as an issue. So the person who's looking at $5,500 kayaks is looking for a different tool than someone looking for that $1,000 kayak that they're going to go beat up on a river and camp in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of cool that Old Town offers something at every single range. And they should. You know, they're the biggest kayak company in the industry, and they're leading the charge with technology and innovation. So I think it's really cool. And I know they wouldn't be charging a premium if it didn't cost them a lot of money to make these boats. I'm so thankful to be a part of the shortlist who gets to test these kayaks out when they launch and provide my thoughts and opinions. Of course, they're all my own. Absolutely nothing was approved before upload or anything like that. I can't wait to get this thing out onto the river, do some kayak camping in it, do some fishing. This thing's gonna be in my arsenal for a very long time. And I think it's worthy of considering. And who knows, if the ePDL Plus isn't for you, check out the PDL. I think it's a worthy option. At the end of the day though, I'm still going to be paddling my kayaks. I'm going to be e-pedaling them now. And it's all about having fun on the water.
So after all of those miles logged, upstream, against the wind, let's see what the battery percentage is. We still have like full battery. So we still have full battery on that tiny little battery. And I put in some serious mileage, probably 3 hours of mostly cruise control in mode 5, which is maxing out the battery. That is straight up impressive. I think you could do a kayak camping trip with this thing and go upstream in a big river, camp, and then still have plenty of juice for their turn trip home, which is really starting to make me think about opening up some other water. Guys, I tell you what, first trip out on the Malibu 120 ePDL Plus was a huge success here in downtown Houston. Beautiful spring evening for it. I can't wait to get this thing out on the water again. It's just an introductory video, nothing too crazy. But when you mix a fast pedal kayak, the salty PDL, with e-bike technology, you have yourself a winning formula. This thing was awesome. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.